something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, live from Detroit and kicking off another brand new day here on the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, which always makes me ask, who do you want in your foxhole? All right, we're burning daylight. We need to get rolling here today. Three big things this hour. Number one, the Feds finally cut interest rates, but it seems the markets were already planning on this happening, so it's all baked in. Hopefully, it'll help people get going again, better mortgage rates and so on and so forth. Number two, a massive attack on law enforcement in Pennsylvania has left 3 police officers dead, 2 more in critical condition, and an unusual call for the Mexican consulate to be involved from Philadelphia. That indicates a clear direction for this investigation, of course. And number 3, the mainstream media and the Democrats can't bring themselves to admit that there's a problem with left-wing political violence in this country. Oh, they love to scream about threats to democracy when it suits their narrative, but when one of their own ideological foot soldiers pulls the trigger and kills a conservative, a world-famous conservative on a college campus, crickets, or worse, outright lies. Charlie Kirk, a true American hero, was gunned down in Utah by a radical leftist driven by pro-trans ideology. And don't you dare tell me it's not political. The Utah prosecutor laid it out in plain detail in his public statements. But the fake news, they're twisting themselves into pretzels to pretend it never happened that way. If you're still wondering how dishonest the legacy news media is and how in the bag those outlets are for radical left-wing ideologies, you don't need to wonder anymore, because I'm going to lay it out for you, one piece of damning evidence at a time. Here's Jimmy Kimmel, still claiming that the shooter was part of the MAGA base. This is Tuesday, and it's totally unbelievable. Listen.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Absolutely disgraceful. Not to mention completely false. How do you come to that conclusion when this is what the Utah County District Attorney revealed earlier this week? Point by point, listen.
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views.
He had shifted to the radical left. Now, the good news, no. Make that the great news is that Jimmy Kimmel has been kicked off the air. As a result of those latest attacks on conservatives, the outright lies and his blatant disregard for truth, which could certainly result in a massive lawsuit. Disney announcing he has been placed on leave indefinitely, which, by the way, is code for the lawyers are working it out. He's never coming back. Take it to the bank. So the truth is, the killer is the opposite, the exact opposite of what Kimmel said, the exact opposite of MAGA. But the mainstream media still isn't willing to admit the motive is clear as day. Here is CNN's Caitlin Collins yesterday, getting absolutely crushed by facts from Senator Ted Cruz, who, like so many of us, are completely sick and tired of this crap and the lies. Listen.
And we don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously, we've heard what the governor's had to say, what the FBI director said today.
Come on, we don't have a motive yet.
We know.
We don't have a motive yet.
What's happening with?
Really, that's CNN's position.
I mean, from law enforcement,
he just happened to fire the gun in celebration. You can't tell the motive.
Senator, that's not what I said. And I said law enforcement hasn't laid out a direct motive. They've laid out a lot of evidence here of these messages and what
actually,
the
they
shooter
have.
said
They've
to
said that
family
he was a
members
left-wing
and to
activist who
roommates.
hated Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. I mean, how much more clearly does it have to be spelled out by the prosecutor? He gave us the shooter's response. He was literally asked why he did it. Literally asked why he did it. Here's the answer.
When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate.
No motive, CNN? Really? Charlie Kirk's hatred was calling out the radical trans agenda that's mutilating kids, pushing gender confusion in classrooms, and erasing women's sports altogether. That's not hatred. That's the cold, hard truth. But to Robinson, steeped in the pro-trans ideology echo chamber of the left, it was enough to motivate murder. Gray's office charged him with aggravated murder, and they're also seeking the death penalty. But CNN contributors are still trying their best to make the shooter out as anything other than a left-wing murderer. Oh no, he's just a broken-hearted lover. It's a love story, you see. Listen to this crap.
Talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it?
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally.
Guys, he etched the statements that are made by the left about Republicans and conservatives and Charlie Kirk fascists on the bullet casings.
He made a joke about it in his last text.
Well, it doesn't sound like a joke to me because someone's dead and about to be buried.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like a joke to me. We are looking around the edges of this for something other than what's staring us in the face. Left-wing radicalism got this kid, he went up to a roof, and he murdered our friend, and that's what happened.
And that's what happened. This isn't some love story. Can we now put Montel Williams back in a box and shove him back in the closet and just leave him there this time? They're burying the motive and focusing on gun control. If that's anything to do with any of it, it's not. The New York Times ran a piece on the insight into a motive, but those texts, but they danced around the pro-trans angle like it was radioactive. Personal grievance, they say. Personal? This kid was radicalized by the left's nonstop propaganda. The Guardian? They quoted the text, but framed it as Robinson just being fed up with far-right activism. Far-right? Charlie was mainstream conservative. Mainstream. Democrats milked January 6th for years and still are, calling for it to be called an insurrection, which it was not. Impeaching Trump twice over it. But when Antifa burns cities, when BLM riots destroy billions in property, when a Bernie bro shoots up a Republican baseball game, poof. It's mostly peaceful, not representative. And now with Charlie Kirk's blood on their hands, they're denying it's political at all. Not only denying it, but demanding that we move on. Montel Williams should be ashamed of himself. I'll have more embarrassing Montel. Why not? Coming up. Goodbye, Jimmy Kimmel. Take your money and go disappear. Bye-bye, Jimmy. We'll take a break and be right back. All right, back at it now. We're paying attention to what's happening in England right now. My good friend and colleague from Real America's Voice, Brian Glenn, on the ground, but he keeps getting scooted off. If we can connect with him, we'll get a little update on what's happening with the president and the first lady. So we'll get back to that in just a moment. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to call out the left-wing media for denying, not just denying that we ignore the facts of the case of who executed Charlie Kirk, but that we just move on. Nobody's moving on. Montel Williams, I don't know where they found this guy, what closet they dragged him out of. But he should be ashamed for what he said on CNN. Here's more of the filth.
Could we spend as much time figuring out how we bridge this and come back together again? You know, I used to have a note on my producer's desk when I did my show that was said, we don't belabor what happens, we try to figure out why it happens and come up with solutions. Right now, all we're doing is belaboring what happened over and over and over and over again. We're not going to sit down and try to figure out how do we stop it. If we want to
go after left-wing terrorists. That's actually exactly the conversation we're having, is we're acknowledging there's a problem.
So anybody who disagrees with you is a left-wing terrorist?
Absolutely not, but if they target a conservative and murder him in brutal fashion, he's probably a left-wing terrorist.
Let me answer your question. He was murdered trying to do what we always say. Why don't we talk to each other? So yes, it's not even been a week. So you're going to have to give us a little grace on being angry about somebody who did what you always say that we should do. Let's talk.
We didn't
and
get
he got
grace over,
and he got
more
killed.
than a week's grace over two Michigan elected officials who were murdered? Did we give, was it 3 weeks before we decided to say that there was something wrong with Speaker Pelosi's husband being hit in the head with a hammer?
By a homeless drug addict? I mean, it was terrible that happened. This is not the same kind of case.
It's not the same thing at all. Why are they in denial? Because admitting left-wing violence exists and it's dangerous and it's huge shatters this myth that all threats come from the right. Pro-trans ideology isn't just some harmless rainbow flag. It's a weaponized cult that's led to school shootings in Nashville, where the trans shooter specifically targeted Christians, and in Minneapolis, same thing. But the media suppresses all of that. They suppressed the manifesto from Tennessee for months. They're trying to make this a both sides issue, bringing up the murders of Minnesota Democrats who were never demonized by right-wing media and whose murderer made claims about being ordered by Tim Walz to commit the atrocity, or the threats against Josh Shapiro, all while denying who his aggressor was, too. Scott Jennings really had to work full-time to counter all of this garbage. God bless him. He's an American treasure, too. Listen to this.
He's got a point.
Well, I think his point would be strengthened if he were honest today about who burned his house down. You know, it was a Free Palestine leftist who came and burned down the governor's mansion. He left that out. He left that out of his tweet today, and he's talking about cherry-picking political violence, and we're talking about where there might be political violence. The violence against the governor of Pennsylvania and his family came from the left. And so I think, look, I think there's a rush by Democrats who want to be president in 2028 to try to turn, somehow Donald Trump's friend gets shot and now everybody wants to blame Donald Trump for it. I guess that's what you have to do to get elected president as a Democrat.
We are not doing that sitting here, okay? And Kate,
I'm
please
sorry.
go ahead.
Is that not what's happening?
People are pointing. The governor's point is that it doesn't matter where the violence came from.
I think it might. Shouldn't it matter the motivations of the people?
Of course it should matter where the violence comes from. This denial isn't ignorance, it's strategy. The left controls the narrative through big tech, Hollywood, and the corporate press. They amplify every MAGA hat wearer who they think says something dumb. But when a pro-trans fanatic kills a conservative leader for the world to see in broad daylight, mental health issue, isolated incident, baloney. Look at the patterns. The Trump assassination attempts at first in Butler and then Florida, both by left-leaning nutcases. Ryan Routh, a Florida guy, a Ukraine fanatic, anti-Trump to the core. But the media, no clear motive. Same playbook here with Ramsden. Oh, we're waiting for a motive. No, you're not. And the corporate media still can't help but demonize anyone who stands in solidarity with conservative figures. Even this sweet anchor who was suspended for nothing but a teary tribute to Charlie Kirk got her kicked off the air. Listen.
2 days ago, I lost a mentor, my first boss, the first person who made me believe in myself, that encouraged me to chase this dream that you're watching right now. Charlie Kirk. There's a lot going on in our world right now, in our country, but I want to say one thing. Lean on your neighbors. Speak up for what you believe in. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, she went on for a bit there and suspended from her job at a channel in, I guess, in Springfield, Illinois. Benny said, forget this and resign. Good for her. Shouldn't work with a company that's bankrupt morally anyway. Folks, this is why we fight. Charlie Kirk didn't die in vain. His murder exposes the rot more than ever. The Democrats and their media lapdogs are complicit in stoking this violence with their rhetoric calling us fascists, bigots, Nazis, threats to trans lives, all of that nonsense. Well, who's the real threat? A movement that motivates murder over disagreement? The left's denial of their own violence is the real threat to democracy. They point fingers at us while arming their ideologues. Charlie Kirk was a warrior for truth. So let's honor him by exposing this hypocrisy. Deal? Deal. I'm going to tell you something the weight loss industry won't. Your metabolism is not broken. It's misunderstood. And 99.9% of you have never been shown how to actually control it. I'm here with a big announcement from my friends at Pure Health Solutions. For the entire month of September, you can get 25% off their personalized weight loss program. Let's face it, September is go time. The kids are back to school, summer's fading fast, and life is getting back into a perfect routine. Thank God. But listen, let me be real with you for a second. If you're paying some national weight loss company and they're giving you the same cookie cutter plan they hand out to everyone else, and you're not losing weight, it's because it's not customized to you. Pure Health Solutions is different. They build a plan around you, your body, your lifestyle, anywhere in America, anywhere around the world. Log in to GruberHealth.com and find out more. GruberHealth.com. Find out more right now. GruberHealth.com. Lose weight. Keep it off. Figure it out. Real strategy, real food, real results. We'll be right back. All right, back to it real quick. We got Brian Glenn hooked up again. He's marching around the Chequers state there in England. He's with me now. He's been with the president. He flew on Air Force One all the way over to the great place. Brian, how are things going so far? What do you got for us?
Well, it's interesting because this is day 2 of this trip. And of course, yesterday, Steve, it was all about the pageantry. It was all about Windsor Castle, the royal family, all of the carnation that you would expect from this royal family. And it was all of that. But tonight, Steve, is really, and today I should say, is really what this trip I think is intended to accomplish. And there's to be more policy, more discussions on some of these diplomatic issues that we have. The war in Ukraine, you've got tariffs, you've got trade, all those discussions will happen today with Prime Minister Starmer. That is going to be a little bit later this morning. Kind of give you an idea where I'm at right now, because I know we had some transmission issues behind me. This is one of the, I guess we'd call it maybe kind of a workers building, that major ground here at Chequers, but Chequers is just off that way over the trees. Really just a short, I would say a 15-minute helicopter ride from Windsor to here, which was quite impressive. The military, some of them were based in Germany. They took the Chinooks from Germany over to here to pick us up. But what a eventful couple of days we've had here so far. But like I said, Steve, it all comes down to a little bit later this afternoon, and we have that bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Starmer.
And Brian Glenn will be on the ground for us here at Real America's Voice, my friend and colleague there, and enjoying his time out there. Beautiful place, Brian. We'll check back in with you. Of course, they're behind closed doors right now, hammering out some of those details, and Brian will be back to tell us what was accomplished. And, of course, I'm sure we'll hear from Starmer and from President Trump as well. Brian, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it, live on the ground at Chequers Estate in England right now. Good assignment. Pick me next time. I love Brian. I give him a hard time for that. He's a good man. Been moved a few times. If something big happens, we'll go right back to him here on the Steve Gruber Show, broadcasting on Real America's Voice. There's always something to make you look around. Welcome back to the program. We continue to process. It's not something that goes away with the news cycle. So many stories come and go, big stories. They come and go. The assassination of Charlie Kirk doesn't go away. I don't feel better about it. I don't feel less about it. I think about it every day, numerous times. My next guest, author of Pagan Threat, Lucas Miles, Confronting America's Godless Uprising. Miles is the senior director of Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA Faith. Lucas, thank you for being here. And we just talked about before you came on, this was created back in 2022-ish. You took it over a year ago. You were just starting to come into this. You and I have talked a number of different times, but never under a circumstance like this, and hopefully never again under a circumstance like this. Where were you when you learned the news?
Yeah, so my wife and I were actually on vacation out of the country. We were down in Aruba, and my assistant made a big deal before I left. He said, "I'm not going to bug you at all." He's like, "The only reason I'll call is if something major happens." And probably 3 days in, I'm sitting by the pool, and I see my phone light up, and it's my assistant. And my heart just sank as soon as I saw it. I didn't know what it was going to be, but it just felt bad. And I picked it up, and I answered it, and he said, "Charlie's been shot. It's serious. We don't know any more than that right now." And I immediately, made plans to get back home, took the first flight out that we could. Now I'm here in Phoenix with the staff, and, as we start to navigate through this.
Yeah. Navigate is about the only word that comes to mind. Look, you said you've had hundreds of applications for TPUSA Faith. What is TPUSA Faith? We're going to get to your book here in a moment. And Charlie Kirk wrote the forward to your book. So here you are on this book launch, you're on vacation, all these things happen, this terrible thing has happened. But tell me about that.
Yeah, so TPUSA Faith is, it's really Charlie's love letter to the American church in many ways. He had such a heart and a passion for the church here in America, and he wanted to help equip it to stand strong and to learn how to navigate the times that we're in. So he launched this in cooperation with a few others early on. And our mission now is pretty simple. We want to see the church united around primary doctrine. Charlie, from my vantage point, he loved the church and really every expression of the church that was biblically based. And, went to multiple different churches, supported them, gave to multiple different churches. And our desire is to see the church united around primary doctrine and ultimately to see wokeism eradicated from the American pulpit. This disease, this parasite called Marxism, which is really, in my opinion, the pagan threat in this nation. It's the thing that took Charlie's life, and Charlie made his life about trying to fight against this, and we're going to keep that fight going here at TPUSA Faith.
So when you see, and I'm sure you've seen it because we all have, hateful rhetoric online. Charlie was a Nazi. Charlie was a bigot. Charlie was a white supremacist. Charlie was all these terrible, awful things. He got what he deserved. I mean, these people don't know what they're talking about, do they? They don't know what they're talking about. They're taking little snippets or partial comments or taking things out of context. Charlie was none of those things, and neither are you, and neither am I, right?
It's everything in me as I, look at the news feed on X or, look at an Instagram feed or something like that, to not become that keyboard warrior that I kind of despise so much. The last couple of days, I've jumped in on a couple threads, which I typically don't do because I've been so angered by what people say in this. And, Charlie, you could disagree with some of his ideas. Fine. That's fine. He was a good father. He was a good husband. He was a respectable American. He loved this nation. And even those who disagreed with some of his political viewpoints or even his religious viewpoints, should be able to mourn with the nation as we see this heinous act carried out by a deranged individual. And I think that this is a, Charlie is, and I think how people respond to his death is the canary in the cage on whether somebody or not is a lover of the truth. And that goes for pastors as well.
The world does not need a Christianity of convenience or cultural compliance. It needs a Christianity that is fervent, passionate, and unapologetically true. It's one of the comments from the book, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that more than ever, we just saw this past Sunday, a good number of the churches in America doubled their attendance in 1 week. My church doubled our attendance in 1 week. My estimation, I'll wait on guys like George Barna to confirm this, but my guess is that there were more people in church this past Sunday than any other day, single day in human history. This was a monumental shift, dare I say, a turning point for this nation. And Charlie, as much as he impacted this world with his life, his martyrdom has left an indelible mark on this nation, and we will never be the same as a result of it. I truly pray this is the revival that he always desired to see, and so many of us have been yearning for.
What do you say to those pastors who, A, didn't mention it in church and ignored it, or worse, openly attacked him from the pulpit and on social media, which I've seen as well?
Well, first off, if you openly attacked Charlie and his death, you're despicable and you're a monster, and you have completely abandoned the faith. Now, to those who didn't mention Charlie, let me just say, first off, let me give some sort of fairness here. I lost a friend this last week and a boss, and I didn't mention on Sunday the heinous act on that Charlotte train of the Ukrainian girl who was stabbed. It wasn't that I didn't care. It literally didn't even come to mind because all we talked about was Charlie.
Right.
And the response to that. So if a pastor went through a crisis this week and there was other things going on in their life, I can give people a pass. I don't want to try to be some sort of, policing the pulpit. You have to say this, the way that somebody said, you have to say, Black Lives Matter. But if your pastor is continually ignoring these things because they're afraid of upsetting people in the church or controversy or losing donors or something like that, that is not what it means to be a pastor. A pastor should preach the full counsel of the Word of God. We had the most significant Christian martyr in our lifetime just gave their life for the gospel. That is worthy of mention from every single pulpit across this country.
I agree with you, but I've seen pastors say that he deserved none of that. That Charlie, again, the same words, he's a racist, a white supremacist, a bigot, and all this other nonsense because he had a difference of opinion. Charlie would talk to anybody, gay, straight, male, female, trans. He would talk to anybody. Didn't matter. He was an equal opportunity debater. And he was murdered for being an American and being a Christian. That's it. He's an American Christian martyr to me. I don't think there's any other way around it. Real quick, I'll give you the last word, Lucas.
Yeah, Charlie's name will not be forgotten anytime soon. And I, without a doubt, believe that he was martyred for his faith. Being a martyr is this. It's being unwilling to compromise on the testimony of who Jesus Christ is. That defined Charlie's life. Yeah. And I think that should be something that we all seek to emulate.
Lucas, be steadfast. Lucas Miles just wrote the book Pagan Threat, Confronting America's Godless Uprising, the foreword by Charlie Kirk. He's also in charge of Turning Point USA Faith. Lucas, always appreciate you. Thank you. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. program. I'm going to tell you a story here, and I'm going to share it with my next guest, but I'm going to start with the story a little bit. In Phoenix, Arizona, Edward Trenton Albarracin and Gretchen Marie Zamjan, better known as Trenton and Gretchen Edwards, they ran a predatory real estate scam. They targeted old folks, and they did it under the misleading names like Hands with Hope, advertising they could rescue homeowners from foreclosure. Well, that wasn't their plan at all. In fact, it was something quite nefarious. Join me now, Natalie Dominguez. She's the title theft education specialist with Home Title Lock. And if you think it can't happen, you're mistaken. Natalie, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for having me with you guys today.
So these two, they kind of had this dialed in. They targeted elderly homeowners in Arizona. They put out Hands of Hope and all these things to lure people in. And it was like a Venus flytrap. It was a scam, wasn't it?
Absolutely. They targeted 50 plus known victims. So this is horrendous. 50 plus elderly victims that were either currently facing financial troubles or, have older homes they were having trouble making payments on. So you look at the victims that they were targeting and you kind of assume these are probably people without a lot of family members or people, around constantly watching them. And scammers know how to do this. They target our most vulnerable and the people that are most likely to want to trust in their older age. It's horrendous. 50 plus known victims.
So part of what they did here, and they tried some different things, but one of the things they did, they told the homeowners, hey, you just need to temporarily transfer your deeds into trust so the trust can protect your home. And instead, the deeds were transferred into shell LLCs, like the Loophole Family Trust, fully controlled by Albarracin, and Albarracin signed the deeds while Zamjan illegally notarized them despite being his spouse with a direct financial stake. All of these things were illegal, but the state didn't know that, the county didn't know that, the deeds got transferred, right? And then they're free game. All that equity in those homes becomes exposed, doesn't it?
Yep. And so this is actually probably one of the most dangerous kinds of deed fraud and title fraud, because generally the way this works is we have criminals and scammers that will forge the paperwork, forge the signature, get a fake notary stamp online for $20, and they're going to go through and they're going to file this. The county already isn't authenticating these things, right? So at least you have a little bit of a fighting chance. If you find out about it, you take it to court. We've seen, and we've done personally in our practice, hiring handwriting experts, things like that. But in this case, all of the paperwork looks and is technically legitimate. The homeowners have transferred their home into
because they
people's,
signed it,
shell companies' names. It's their signature.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing. I mean, they were misled grossly,
right?
But it's legitimate on paper, and it's so much harder to prove in court that it was fraud.
Yeah. So here we go. Let's see. The victims were also pressured to file false bankruptcy or probate cases. Every step of the way, they were told to do things that they shouldn't do. And what it meant was it dragged it out. It meant they could continue to siphon the money out of these people's homes, take that equity, delay the foreclosure process. And man, they just kept stalling and delaying so they could continue to drain down the money, right?
Absolutely. And based on the reports that we've looked into, we still don't know yet how they found out about this, but 50 plus known victims over years. So that means that they've been working this scam for so many people for a very, very long time. And thank God for people like this Attorney General Mays, right? Who actually really is fighting, criminal charges for exploiting the vulnerable adults.
All right. So let me ask you this. If somebody, you said, has gone on for years and years, somebody has this happen to them, then they pass away, and then it goes on into probate or it goes wherever, and all of a sudden their kids realize the house isn't theirs. I mean, at a certain point, sad to say, you might not recover any of it. It's possible, right? Because it goes on. People die, things change. It goes into court. The court doesn't know what to make of it. They've got signatures there that look legitimate. What a mess.
Well, especially in cases like this, think about it. If they're transferring this into a shell LLC or a trust, that's not even going to go through probate anymore, right? That's their home. They own it. If the person passes, the legitimate homeowner passes away, that's not going to you. That's not going to your family. It's a lot of the victims of this crime, I mean, it could be anyone that owns property, anyone that owns a home, but we do see elderly as higher targets. One, because they are unfortunately easier to take advantage of, and two, because not a lot of people are watching their parents' home or their parents' property. Anything post passing away also is much harder to fight in court. So that's one thing that is really good about our company that I think not a lot of people know is technically just having home title lock monitoring your property is actually something that you can use to fight in court. And we have done so in the past because it is showing intention of monitoring to make sure that this kind of fraud doesn't occur.
So
right?
the fact
Saying,
that
hey,
you have
keeping an eye.
basically, and I'll call it an insurance policy against home theft. If you've got that in place, you're showing intent to protect your home, and therefore you had no intention of transferring it to anybody else. That is a defense in and of itself, is what you're telling me.
Absolutely. It's a defense in and of itself because the moment you're like, hey, this is fraud, you call us, we start building a case and we jump in right away. Our restoration team, we have a team of legal experts across the US for every single state and every different municipality that has different rules and court issues and all those things. But it shows intent exactly to make sure, you know, you're not gonna take someone to court for something that you were intending to do in the first place with home title.
Exactly right. You had already made your intentions clear. Now, the best way to protect your equity is with triple lock protection from Home Title Lock. My friends Natalie and the rest. Triple lock protection, 24/7 monitoring, alerts of any changes, and God forbid if the worst happens, like you've heard about today, restoration services at no out-of-pocket cost to you. You know, when I was first asked, "Where's your home title?" I'm like, I have no idea. It's somewhere. That's the way most people are. Don't let that happen to you. Do not become a victim. Natalie, I appreciate your help today. Protecting yourself is step one, isn't it?
Absolutely. Monitor, be vigilant. No one else is looking out for you but you.
That's right. Make sure you're not a victim, folks. And by the way, use the promo code Gruber at HometitleLock.com to make sure your title is still in your name. There you have it. And a free title history report, no charge today. Natalie, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Have a great one, guys.
You too. HometitleLock.com. Promo code Gruber. Get started. Have peace of mind. Sleep well tonight. I'll be right back. All right, back to it now as we continue the conversation. Donald Trump is going to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization, apparently. We'll see how this plays out. President Trump yesterday announced he will designate Antifa, a left-wing activist group, a major terrorist organization. He did it in a post on Truth Social. I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I am designating Antifa a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster as a major terrorist organization. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This comes in the wake of the execution of Charlie Kirk in front of 3,000 people, Utah Valley University. He did Donald Trump earlier this week on Monday, of Antifa being professional agitators. These protests, these are crimes that they're doing. They're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. They're professional agitators. They should be put in jail. What they're doing to this country is really subversive. We'll see how that plays out, but clearly, we've had it. Look, here's the fact. Dear left wing, you lost the argument permanently on September the 10th. The end. The end. Did you know that most methylene blue being sold online is the same grade used in fish tanks? Watch out for low-quality bottles that are untested for heavy metal and then made overseas. You can trust the wellness companies. Recharge, a doctor-formulated supplement combining power methylene blue with NAD plus and PQQ. This methylene blue is USP grade, ensuring top-tier purity for maximum safety and effectiveness. This is not the sketchy stuff you buy on Amazon. Recharge, formulated with research-backed ingredients to optimize brain function, cellular repair, and supporting clean, lasting energy. That's right, Recharge. Get it done. Feel the difference. Mental clarity, sustained energy, sharper focus. It's all here for you. Go to twc.health/Gruber. Use the code Gruber. You'll save 10%. Plus, get free shipping today. Free shipping. Recharge. We'll do that and be back with another hour of the program right after this. something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is still silent on the Muslim mayor of Dearborn, telling Christian resident he's not welcome in the city for his beliefs. Really, a Christian not welcome in an American city. Number two, Kash Patel calls Congressman Eric Swalwell's entire career BS. The explosive exchange came during a congressional hearing focused in part on the murder of Charlie Kirk. And number three, the media. Number three, the media. And its day of reckoning is here. Boy, how things have changed. But before I get to that, I want to share with you something that is heartbreaking. Frank Turek has been on this program in the past. Frank Turek was a good friend of Charlie Kirk. He was with Charlie the moment he got shot. Frank Turek was among those that carried Charlie to an SUV they commandeered and rode with him the 4.5 miles to the hospital. Frank Turek was in the car with Charlie Kirk from the time that he was shot till they got to the hospital. Yesterday, for the first time, he spoke about it. Here it is.
We got to start CPR. So I try and start that. Now, Charlie wasn't there. His eyes were fixed. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking past me right into eternity. He was with Jesus already. He was killed instantly and felt absolutely no pain. That's what I was told later. But of course, we had to try. And by the way, there was just nothing any of us could do about it. We were giving him CPR, but nothing was happening. It wasn't like if we had better first aid or we had better medical facilities or we were faster to the hospital, we could have saved him. We couldn't.
Yeah, we couldn't. It's sadly what I said at the moment that I saw the video for the first time. I was preparing to go on air on Real America's Voice for America's Voice Live, which I do every day at 3 o'clock. And a producer came in my ear and said, Charlie Kirk has been shot. And then I said, what do you mean, where? Is he okay? Is he alive? They didn't know, of course. So we went on to that program, not knowing if he's alive or dead. John Solomon came on an hour later and said that he hadn't made it. But as I looked at for 20 minutes there, I tried to find information. I saw the first clip of video, which, of course, the whole world has seen now. I didn't see the graphic up-close video. I saw the wide shot from a distance, and I said, that's not survivable. That's a high-powered rifle. I know the sound. I know the sound of impact. And, of course, when we saw the graphic images, you knew he didn't make it. We all knew. But for Frank Turk to be in that vehicle, and they're all praying, and they're doing CPR, and they get to the hospital, and they got a heartbeat back for a bit there at the hospital. They got a pulse back for a bit. And later Frank said, well, how did that happen? Because he was young and in such good shape, they were able to get a pulse back, but just for a short time. He bled out in moments. because of the horrific impact that severed his carotid artery. That's why it was so graphic. The carotid artery had been severed. And the good news, he went on, he said, Charlie felt no pain. He did not suffer. He went straight to the side of Jesus. Everyone was hoping for a miracle. They were praying for it. We all were. Frank Turek was there to see it at some point. I'm sure we'll have him back on the program to discuss this. And let me be clear, we've been talking about the media here. And how dishonest they've been. Jimmy Kimmel now suspended indefinitely, which means he's been fired. The lawyers are just sorting it out. It's code for he is not coming back. In fact, Anthony just told me he saw a short clip from Sinclair Television. Sinclair owns dozens and dozens of television stations around the country, and they said they will not put that program back on the air, even if he gets his job back, which he won't. But if he did, they wouldn't put him on the air unless he apologized openly and gave a massive donation to Turning Point USA, which, of course, he would never do because he's a hateful bigot, is Jimmy Kimmel.
They also said that in place of his time slot, they'll be playing a Charlie Kirk memorial, like a tribute.
Tonight, or I mean, obviously, they're not going to do that every night.
Yeah, possibly tonight, the first night that he's not on air, I would guess.
I don't think he was on yesterday. They must have had a rerun yesterday. Because the way I understand it, it was an hour before the show, and they came in and said, you're out.
Gotcha. I'm not sure on the exact details.
Right. Anyhow, so, well, Sinclair, good for you. Sinclair standing up and saying, we don't care if he comes back. We're not taking him back. Sinclair, you know, and Sinclair has some great people like Cheryl Atkinson. Great reporter. There's good people working over there. So good for Sinclair for standing up and doing the right thing. It's about time that people took a stand and said, we're not doing this anymore. We've had enough. And we're done with it. Makes sense to me.
Looks like Friday is when they're going to air that remembrance.
Thank you for that. All right, so Friday on Sinclair, you're going to see instead of Jimmy Kimmel and his hateful rhetoric, you're going to see Charlie Kirk in a memorial. Good for them. And I mean that. Bitcoin is on the rise again. So is XRP. So is Ethereum. Did you ever get in on crypto, or were you left behind as all those other folks cashed in on it? Well, Block Trust IRA is changing your opportunities here. Block Trust IRA is fueling President Trump's America First economic miracle. Block Trust IRA, the Animus AI trading platform, considered number one, the best there is, according to Bitcoin Magazine. You can get part of it now. Whether you're a teacher, a trucker, or retiree, check this out. Get up to $2,500 in bonus crypto when you sign up right now at SteveGruberCrypto.com. SteveGruberCrypto.com. I own Bitcoin. I own several different types of virtual currency, of cryptocurrency. You should too. SteveGruberCrypto.com. Don't be left behind. Get involved. I'll be back. All right, back at it here as we continue the conversation. A lot of things to talk about. Again, it's just a different world. But there are other things to talk about and important things to cover. Joining me now is Bruce Tatoris, Director of Communications for the American Small Business League. He's been here before. And the Don't Cheat Woman project that supports advocacy work that aims to elevate women-owned small businesses in this country and in federal contracting. It's an important endeavor. Bruce, nice to have you back on the program.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be with you. How are you?
Well, you know, it's been a difficult week. I'm not going to kid you with all that has happened. But here we are. We have to push forward. We're Americans, despite a political assassination of, well, a friend of mine, frankly. We have to push forward. So let's talk about business. You know, the best way to deal with grief for some people is just to work hard. So let's talk about business. What's going on with the American Small Business League?
Well, we're enjoying reaching out to Congress and senators and also candidates about the importance of small businesses. The nation needs to know we are a small business nation. So we're firing on all cylinders on a number of fronts. And I was alerted to a news piece to be prepared to talk about with you about two programs that got recommended by the House Small Business Committee. And I took a nice little dive into those. And just to further make the point of the value of the information on our two websites, you know, asbl.com and then our Don't Cheat Women project. Thank you for mentioning that. And it's a great opportunity to pour a lot of required funding by law into our small businesses, which really can have a very, very quick effect on prosperity.
Yeah, quickest effect on prosperity. Look, businesses owned by women more prevalent now than they've been at any time in my lifetime, I believe. I mean, I see women doing all sorts of things, owning trucking companies and building companies and roofing companies. I mean, they're everywhere. The broadcast companies like this one, right? Right?
Yes, they are. And they're growing by many measures in terms of economics and earnings and savings. They're still under what men earn and save, but by many indicators, they are on the rise. There's one where they're egregiously lacking and underserved, and that's what we're focusing on. We discussed that, you know, last time we were on. Should I lay the foundation of our little project and then have
Sure, go ahead.
Dive into it? Okay.
We got about 3 minutes, so be efficient.
Okay, great. The federal government is supposed to steer 23% of its procurement budget, contracting budget into our small businesses. Every year it says, we did that. In fact, we did more. How about a loan? Because the SBA oversees this. And 30 years of our efforts and congressional investigations show that in reality, small businesses get as little as 3 or 4% of the federal contracts. And big businesses, which represent 0.1% of all businesses in America, get up to 95% of that procurement budget. And the SBA and any other agency of the federal government that opines on this or supports the claim is really participating in a bit of an obfuscation, which is a nice way of saying not quite telling the truth.
Not quite telling the truth. All right, continue on.
Okay. Our Don't Cheat Women project is a campaign to raise from 5% to 15% the contracts that must go to women-owned small businesses.
But you just said 23% is required. They're not doing what's required.
No, they're not. So we're starting by, because if anyone searches what I just said, they're going to say, Bruce is wrong. Look at all the reports that the government gives, 23, 24, 25% to small businesses. So Charlie, Steve, we're starting just by, look who's on the mind.
Yeah.
We're starting by saying, to start the conversation, teach people, they're supposed to get 5%. Is it right that companies owned by men get 95% of federal contracts when women sell what the government buys in all those fields that you mentioned and more? That would push from 23% to 33% the contracts that are supposed to go to small businesses and create that economic boom that we describe on our websites. And then the next step is to teach people what I started with, which is, the government isn't really giving 23% to small businesses.
Yeah. So how do we correct it? I mean, if basically you're saying they're fudging the numbers. Yeah, you know, that's government for you. Oh yeah, we're doing check. It's all good. If somebody if a woman's listening right now, are there grants and help available to get rolling or to enhance a business that's already in place? How do you get one of those contracts?
Well, there's all kinds of grants, loans, and other programs. The contracts are a very specific thing. And at don'tcheatwomen.com, we have just a handful of pages. One of them is resources, and it walks anybody through this world. I can apply for a government contract. What does the government buy? Do I sell what the government buys? How do I apply? We have all the doors there and website, links you can click into to learn about all that.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Does the government buy media? Like what we're doing here? Do they buy media?
Do they buy media in terms of advertisements?
No, I mean like in terms of creating, videos and.
I'm going to guess yes, and
I would guess yes too.
The federal government is the world's largest purchaser of goods and services. We're safe saying
of everything.
It buys everything.
All right. Real quick, Bruce, tell the folks, how do they find you? How do they find this information?
Thank you. Don'tcheatwomen.com, no apostrophe, and the broader story I just told at asbl.com.
Don'tcheatwomen.com. Bruce DeTorres, thank you for being here. Thank you for opening the eyes of the people that need to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Have a break, and I'll be right back. All right, still following this this horrible shooting in Pennsylvania that left 3 police officers dead, 2 more in critical condition. Trying to figure this out, it happened in York County. All right. The gunman, who has not been publicly identified, was killed by police in, I'm going to say what apparently was a shootout. That according to Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner Colonel Christopher Paris. He added authorities know who they are and who they work for. Who they work for. Now, this is curious, and this is why it's curious. Those involved in the investigation include the FBI, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Pennsylvania State Police, and the Philadelphia Mexican Consulate. The Philadelphia Mexican Consulate. That was, I saw that yesterday, and it was added late in this story from Fox News. Why is the Philadelphia Mexican Consulate involved? Well, the only answer would be because there were Mexican nationals involved in this shooting somewhere, somehow. That could indicate that illegal aliens were involved here somewhere in the murder of police officers. So we'll keep an eye on that. I mean, why else would the Mexican consulate be involved unless there's something like that going on? This part of the program brought to you by PuroVet. PuroVet is part of PuroClean. PuroClean is a company that showed up on my doorstep after I had a fire at a rental house. They have been fabulous. They have a sister company called Signal. Signal does commercial restoration. PuroClean does residential restoration, flood, earthquake, mudslide, fire, whatever. They've been great to work with. I mean it. Anyhow, they have this program called PuroVet that I heard about, where they put veterans at the front of the line to get a franchise, to put themselves in business. I think it's great. You can find out more at purovet.com. It's right there on your screen, purovet.com or 855-PuroVet. For those of you listening, purovet.com. If you know a veteran, if you are a veteran, you want to be at the front of the line and have a business, this is a way to get it done with a company that I think is 5 stars, purovet.com. All right, where are we with tariffs? They're taking him to court. Donald Trump's pushing back, actually asking for the Supreme Court to weigh in on his tariff authority. He's been struck down by federal court saying he doesn't have the authority, but those those have been set aside while it plays out in the higher courts. And so the tariffs are kind of in limbo right now. They're in place, but are they permanent? We don't know. Mitchell Silk is a former assistant secretary for international markets during Donald Trump's first term in office. He joins me now. Mitchell, thank you for being here.
Morning, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. Where are we with the tariffs? Do you think that Donald Trump has the statutory authority to impose tariffs and to regulate those tariffs?
I do believe he does. And he's used the tariffs, as he did in Trump 45, very, very effectively as a couple of different means for the direct means of imposing tax. But I think more importantly for the viewers is to recognize the great move that the president has taken from day one of the administration to use tariffs as leverage. He's imposed tariffs time and again from day one of the administration across a broad swath of goods and countries in order to get countries to the table. And he's done it in a very, very strategic manner. The tariffs were of such a size and such a proportion and so broad that I think it was viewed as a bit of a shocker. There was quite a bit of commentary initially when the tariffs went on about the disruption of the tariffs to the market. But if you really step back, or rather zoom out and look how the president has so successfully used tariffs as leverage, all we need to do really is to look at the results. And the results are not just in dealing with the trade deficit globally, but also in securing more direct investment into the country, which is good for the industrial base and good for jobs. So just to step back, look at where we are, or look at where we were 6 months in. The president and his great team settled agreements with, let's call it 10 countries: Japan, the EU, South Korea, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam. Those agreements with those countries represented addressing around 67% of the trade deficit. And global trade deficit, which was at $1.2 trillion when the president stepped into office. That in and of itself is a great result for the country and for the American people. But in addition to that, through a number of those agreements, he was able to secure very large commitments, hundreds of millions of dollars. Look at the Japan agreement, over $500 million of commitments for direct investment into the United States, while with other countries, also including Japan, South Korea, he secured billions of dollars of commitments to buy U.S. energy, mainly LNG. So good result all around, in my view, Steve.
Yeah. All right. So the reason you're here, let's talk about this for a second. A Seat at the Table is a new book, and I'd like you to share this story. We've got about 5 minutes here. When it comes to Chinese negotiators who tried to embarrass you, who tried to make you feel silly, and you said, really, here's how we're going to play ball, and you got their attention. The book is called A Seat at the Table. Do explain.
Well, a couple of different levels. You know, my main reason for writing the book is that I wanted to show how folks of faith and how folks of perseverance and how American grit could really shape the world policy. A seat at the table just is meant to convey a number of things, but mainly that anybody can have a seat at the table as long as we are pushing the right policy. What I saw from trade negotiations with China to the $94 billion CARES Act programming that I implemented for the airlines during COVID was that principled leadership and a personal touch could matter.
Yeah. All right. So you invited them to your house, right? Said, hey, come on over. We got a place for you. Prayer services in the Treasury while designing a $94 billion program that saves 700,000 American jobs. You did a lot of different things here with a place at the table, didn't you?
I did. My portfolio was really large, Steve. I covered all of the functional offices in Treasury's International Affairs Department. I looked after trade not only with China, but countries throughout the world. Worked a lot on U.S. Mexico, Canada, France. I covered the portfolio that deals with financial regulation and fintech. I looked after a very large initiative relating to infrastructure finance globally, and also, as you mentioned, did the CARES Act programming for the airlines. That $94 billion of financing saved about 700,000 jobs.
That's important. Biblical principles defeat communist tactics. You know, the Chinese Communist Party believes, they truly believe, that everything under heaven, it's one of their sayings, I can't do the Mandarin translation, not particularly well, but China believes everything under heaven belongs to China. Not just Taiwan, but everything, including America, right? That's the belief. I think that the communist mentality is very dangerous to this world. Your thoughts?
Simple response, Steve, with reference to the name of the country. The name of the country in Chinese is Zhongguo, which means central or middle country. And the perception of the Chinese is that they are at the center of the world. And it's their rules that govern. And there's nothing that should stand in their way. That has been a key driver in their approach to predatory growth globally, through unsubsidized credit mechanisms and other unfair trade means. And our president has stood up to it. He said that I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to take it anymore. He pushed back. We secured a very good trade agreement in 2020 that was interrupted by COVID. And now we're back at the table. And I expect that we are going to deliver an agreement that'll be good for the country, good for global trade and global finance, and good for the American people.
Yeah, there you go. Good stuff. Good for the American people. Mitchell Silk. Thank you for standing up. The brand new book, brand new book is A Seat at the Table. A seat at the table. Thank you for being here today. Being an American is a pretty good thing. Pretty good thing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. Have a great day.
You too. A seat at the table. You know, just getting bullied by the Chinese? No, thanks. He stood up for this country. He stood up for you and I. Good stuff. We're going to take a break and be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, Sam Amsterdam is with us now, Unicoin Senior Policy Advisor. A new day at the SEC. New regulatory priorities on Project Crypto. I've been following the crypto prices, by the way. Bitcoin got up to what, 123, 124, then it bounced all the way down to about 108, but it's been above 100 for a long time. It's interesting, if you go online, some predict it's going to 135, 150, 200, some saying it's going to crash. I don't know. Sam, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
But what do you think here? A new day at the SEC, Security and Exchange Commission. What is the future of crypto? I mean, it's becoming ever more mainstream, it seems to me. It's here to stay, isn't it?
Well, it's absolutely right. It's definitely here to stay. And I think we're at the dawn of a new brand war, if you will, between various cryptocurrencies that will be competing for public attention, affiliation, and trust. We saw Atkins call for the end of the war on crypto, which it very much was under the Biden administration, the Gensler SEC. It was punitive towards cryptocurrency in America becoming one of the crypto capitals of the world. But today, I expect, to your point, a future bull run of Bitcoin and its American alternative Unicoin.
It is. Why is it so, for many people, Sam, crypto, especially for older folks, so foreign? You know, they like having money in their hand. It's just so foreign to them that I don't know if you ever go to the younger people, of course, sure. Let me ask you this. Are we going to have cash in the future, or is it all going to be electronic? You know, your phone, your computer, whatever it is. Cash or no cash?
Well, I tend to think it's all going to be electronic. I think that, to your point, greater public education needs to be put forward about how to adopt cryptocurrency. There's a huge deficit in the United States of education and information, straightforwardly how to transfer cryptocurrency payments into your bank account. That lack of information is still holding America back when competing with other parts of the world that have embraced it as a part of their daily lives. So I think certainly, much like we've gone from trading seashells and to cash to credit cards, I think we're seeing a natural evolution. But it's in many ways still the Wild West.
It is, and right now, a lot of people, it's a way for them to move assets around. I don't know if I call it money, but moving assets around without being detected. Unicoin, by the way, unicoin.com, if you want to find more, is a next-generation dividend-paying cryptocurrency designed to be stable and profitable. What is Unicoin? Who created it? Where did it come from? Is it your creation? Tell me about this.
Well, certainly not my creation. It was created by Alex Kananikan and Silvina Moschini, and it is indeed a next-generation cryptocurrency, a leading alternative to Bitcoin that is tied to real-world assets, and that's very important, whether it's real estate or other. To me, and I think speaking to the earlier point about education, understanding and being able to see and touch the assets that are affiliated to tokens is very, very important. So that's one of the distinctions of Unicoin. Its connection, its direct correlation to the investment community on real-world assets internationally.
So, all right, so it's tied to real estate. It's tied to other companies. It's in a way tied to the way I'm thinking about it, Sam. Look, I'm no expert here. It's like it's tied to the stock market. It's tied to companies. It's tied to real estate. It's tied to things, is what you're telling me.
Absolutely. And what many don't realize is there was a hit television series called Unicorn Hunters, which adopted cryptocurrency, allowed folks from around the world to invest in sort of a Shark Tank-like entrepreneurs that would come to what was called the circle of money. This show was running when cryptocurrency was still a dirty word in the United States. So the Unicoin has been ahead of the curve for some time, and I think we're going to see them continue to thrive in the market.
I lost you a little bit there for a moment, Sam. Now,
I was just saying, I apologize. They'll continue to thrive in this new environment, sir.
Right. Okay, so you faced some very serious scrutiny from the SEC, did Unicoin. Where are we in that process? There was the word fraud was thrown around by the SEC involving Unicoin. Where are we in that process?
Great question. Unicoin has categorically refuted the allegations from the SEC, allegations that were put forward from remnants of the Gensler administration. We filed a motion to dismiss, and a letter has recently been issued to President Trump to that effect. So we'll have to wait and see at this point, but I'm quite confident the future is looking bright for Unicoin.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being here. Sam Amsterdam from Unicoin. You can learn more at unicoin.com. Thank you for stopping in.
Thank you, sir.
Really appreciate it. There you have it. Well, it seems to me we need a little bit more digging on that one, and we will do that for you. I apologize for that. So there's that. Marking that off my list. I'd like you to make sure you support the good people that support this program. People like Cardone, Purovet, Block Trust IRA, Hillsdale College, the Wellness Company, and so many more. Cardone, by the way, if you're in business, real business, and you're at that point where you can't quite break through, and you're like, why can I not break through? What do I do here? You're making $500,000, $1 million, $3 million, whatever it is. If you go to Gruber10x.com right now, you can get 3 to 5 great ideas to help you move your business forward. Gruber10x.com, and it's free. It's normally a $495 phone call, first consultation. Free right now. Gruber10x.com. If you're a business owner thinking about being a business owner, you want to move your business forward, Gruber10x.com. Support the companies that support this program. All right? I'll be right back. All right, time to check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. A full schedule in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included the New York Yankees, Cleveland, and Houston. National League winners included Atlanta, the Chicago Cubs, and the LA Dodgers. The Cubs clinched a playoff berth in the National League with their 8-4 victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates. In the WNBA playoffs, the Minnesota Lynx rallied from 14 points down in the fourth quarter to beat Golden State 75-74. Lynx take that series 2-0, and Phoenix evened up their first-round series at 1 game apiece with the New York Liberty by blowing them out 86-60 on the road. The Washington Commanders will be moving back to D.C. in the near future. The D.C. Council voted 11-2 yesterday to renovate the RFK Stadium site just east of the U.S. Capitol. The Commanders have played in suburban Maryland since 1997. The new stadium should be ready in 2030. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
Right, well, Brock, the Tigers are not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
No, they're trying to give it away.
All right, who do they have in the next series? Let's just assume they lose the third game here.
Well, they host Atlanta in their last home series of the season, but Tarek Skubal's going today for the Tigers, so maybe they can rebound and at least get one. We'll see.
All right. There you have it, Brock. Greatly appreciate it.
I have a sports question, actually.
Go ahead. From the audience, we have a question.
So the Tigers last week played, who was it, the Mets? The New York Mets, when Donald Trump came and talked to them in the locker room. Right?
It was the Yankees. They were playing in New York against the Yankees. That's what it was.
So did Donald Trump also talk to the Tigers, or did he only talk to the Yankees?
Don't know. Can't answer that one.
All right, that's my question, because I think the Tigers were doomed if Trump didn't give them a pep talk.
There you go.
Yep, deep breath. That's about right.
yeah, there you go. All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back with another hour here on the Steve Gruber Show, and all your sports questions will be answered, and all will be revealed. All will be revealed. I'll be back. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Yeah, it certainly is. Welcome back to it live from just outside of Detroit. Good to have you here. God bless America. Listen, three big things this hour, and choosing who you want in your foxhole, all very important. Here's number one. Governor Gretchen Whitmer offering a COVID vaccine solution, but there's apparently no real problem. Number two, following this story out of Pennsylvania, 5 police officers shot, 3 are dead, 2 in critical condition. It's especially noteworthy that the Philadelphia Mexican consulate has been called into this investigation. Why? I think you can figure that out why. And number 3, I've got a statement here from Jimmy Kimmel, who has been booted off the air. And they're calling it cancel culture. I don't think Jimmy complained when Charlie Kirk got canceled, and I don't mean when he was murdered. I mean when he was canceled off Twitter and so forth. I don't remember Jimmy Kimmel complaining when Donald Trump was told he was permanently banned from Twitter. I don't remember that. And keep that in mind as I read this statement from Jimmy Kimmel. SAG-AFTRA condemns the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Our society depends on freedom of expression. Suppression of free speech and retaliation for speaking out on significant issues of public concern run counter to the fundamental rights we all rely on. Democracy thrives when diverse points of view are expressed. The decision to suspend airing Jimmy Kimmel Live is the type of suppression and retaliation that endangers everyone's freedoms. SAG-AFTRA stands with all media artists and defends their right to express their diverse points of view and everyone's right to hear them. This is actually not from Jimmy Kimmel, it's from SAG-AFTRA.
His union, yes, I was just
from the union, yeah. Anyhow, look, Jimmy Kimmel Live was failing financially, just like Colbert was. Why? Because they've offended more than half the country. And making jokes about the murder of Charlie Kirk alienated even more. Sinclair Broadcasting, that has more ABC affiliates than any company in America, said, we don't care if you bring Jimmy Kimmel Live back, we won't air it. And in fact, they're going to air a special about Charlie Kirk, a memorial special about Charlie Kirk tomorrow night instead of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Jimmy Kimmel Live will never be on Sinclair Broadcasting again. See, so it's not about freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And none of these people complained when Donald Trump was censored, or Charlie Kirk was censored, or I was censored. They didn't care about any of that. They don't care if I'm censored. Oh, but Jimmy Kimmel. Look, he said things that offended his entire audience, or most of them. Any decency that was in the audience was offended by that. So he's been suspended indefinitely. Can you imagine what would have happened if people had said, hey, JFK getting shot, that's funny? What if they had said, Martin Luther King getting shot, oh, that's funny, let's make jokes about it on late night television? Really? But when they do the same thing with a conservative activist, thought leader, persuader of young minds in 2025, apparently then the line has been crossed. Such garbage. Look, I'm a defender of free speech. Jimmy Kimmel can say whatever he wants. Nobody's stopping him from saying it. They're just stopping him from saying it on network television. I mean, based on that, any failed television series, any series that has failed. I mean, Roseanne Barr, she got booted right off her TV show, didn't she? I don't think Jimmy Kimmel complained about Roseanne Barr. I don't remember the SAG-AFTRA union coming out to defend Roseanne Barr when she was kicked off a program called Roseanne, her show. Then they changed it to The Connors. Yeah. It's a remarkable double standard, of course. Let me see here. I don't remember. What did she say? I love this. This ability to just tap in and say, okay, boom, give it to me. She was making comments about Barack Obama. And she was kicked off her own show. She is a comedian. She was saying sarcastic things. Now I'm asking for this. Here's where AI gets a little dicey, right? Barr was kicked off her show in 2018 after posting a racist tweet about Barack Obama. I'm asking for the specific quote. No answer. Sorry about that. Something didn't go as planned. Please try again. If you're still seeing this message, go ahead and start the app. Oh, wait. Oh, that's right. J.K. Rowling. She was banned. The woman who wrote all of those incredible books, right? Harry Potter, the author, banned because she didn't buy the transgender ideology. So I'm going to ask to see. I'm going to ask this again. See, this is beautiful, isn't it? What specific quote? Yeah. I don't see it. Anyhow, something went wrong. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, Roseanne Barr, if she said something racist and was taken off the air, that's the company's prerogative to do that. They can do that. They felt it offended their good sense. You see, all of these contracts have a clause about your behavior. If your behavior doesn't meet company standards, and guess what? You know what the company standards are? Whatever they want them to be that day. It's like Gerald Ford talking about, impeachment. What's impeachment? Anything we want it to be. That's what it is. And so if the company says we don't want Jimmy Kimmel anymore, then they don't want Jimmy Kimmel anymore, and that's the way that is. Boom. Done. End of story. So they can kick and scream all they want. They didn't defend Roseanne Barr. They didn't defend Donald Trump. They didn't defend Charlie Kirk, any of those people when they were canceled. And when Charlie Kirk gets murdered and Jimmy Kimmel makes jokes about it, they're up in arms. Well, too bad. You lost. I'll just say this again. The argument ended at 1:23 local time in Orem, Utah, September 10, 2025. The argument ended 1:23 local time in the afternoon. Excuse me, 12:23. I stand corrected. 12:23 on the 10th of September. I'll be right back. All right, here is the question that I'm going to open with right now. Here's the question. Is the middle class off the hook for America's $37 trillion debt? Is the middle class off the hook for that? Author John Tamny says yes. In fact, they are. He's the founder and president of the Parkview Institute, editor of Real Clear Markets, and the senior fellow at the Market Institute. John, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Always appreciate it. All right, so you're the editor and author of Real Clear Markets. It's part of Real Clear Politics. It's a great website, friends of ours, obviously. And explain your point of view here. $37 trillion. To me, I figure that somebody's going to show up at some point, pound on the door and say, where's my money? You owe the money. That's the way it works. You know, if you have, you get a dunning letter or you're past due, they start sending you letters and phone calls, then some debt collector pounds on your door. Why would the middle class be exempt from that in $37 trillion of national debt?
Because if they were on the hook for the $37 trillion, then we wouldn't have the debt in the first place. And how we know this is that, can a typical middle class person go into any bank today and borrow the numerical amount that is said they owe for the debt? The answer, I think, is fairly clear. It's no. Governments are no different. They can only borrow insofar as they have access to the taxable earnings of people. And so what this is telling us is that the middle class won't be on the hook. The rich are on the hook, that are already on the hook for the vast majority of federal taxes paid. And they'll be on the hook for paying off the debt in the present and future.
All right. So how do we get there? I mean, I look at this. There's things about the debt that I don't understand, John. I'll be quite honest. I just don't understand. Somewhere in the debt, we owe like almost $20 trillion internally. One department owes another department owes another department. It's like this game of round robin of a merry-go-round. How do we owe $20 trillion internally, and how could that be on? It's not like we owe it to some outside entity. The government owes it to the government, the way I read it, and it's a bit confusing to me. Help me out.
It is. It's very confusing, but never forget this is what markets do all the time. They're just relentlessly processing this information, and they're pricing it. And part of what they price is there are all sorts of investors out there who see the world the way you do, or people like you do, or people like I, or some people who see it like I do. And so they're pricing that in all the time. Oh, the U.S. will never be able to pay this off. The U.S. will be able to pay this off. That's what I say. And so it's all in there. And again, this isn't me defending the debt. I think government spending and government borrowing are huge taxes on economic progress. But it is me saying we have a problem of too much revenue. And it's going, and the problem's going to grow.
The revenue is remarkable, right?
Yeah,
okay, here's the other side of that, though, John. Okay, so the Fed lowered the interest rate yesterday. Great, that's all fine and well. So paying the debt becomes a little more tolerable, and the mortgage gets a little more tolerable. But for the average person saving money for retirement or saving money for anything, the money keeps eroding. The value of the dollar keeps eroding. The money in my pocket isn't worth today what it was yesterday. The inflation is a dangerous damn thing to people, is it not?
It's a huge thing. You and I have been talking about this for how long? For how many years?
Yeah.
That a weak dollar is the biggest barrier to American prosperity of all. We're still incredibly prosperous, but think how much more prosperous we could be if the dollar had a fixed definition. And you're right. When I first came on your show, I think gold was around $1,000. Now it's $3,600.
Boy, we should have bought. We should have bought a lot of it.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. But it's that there's your evidence that we're, and I'll point out that most of this has occurred under President Trump. It began under George W. Bush. It accelerated under Barack Obama. And Donald Trump loves a weak dollar. I keep telling anyone I know close to him, tell him this will destroy him. You can't devalue the dollar. And so, look, it's a big thing. But we can't forget the fact that for the average person retiring, they've got the greatest thing in the world helping their retirement. America is the most unequal country on earth. And by that, I mean, companies like NVIDIA keep revealing themselves over and over again. And so think about what it means for Americans. You don't even have to pick stocks well. You just need to be exposed to the United States, to the top 500 companies. Invariably, one of them will skyrocket, and your retirement will look better with each and every one of these. And so,
right, but $1 million today isn't what it was, 10 years ago. That's for sure. $1 million today, now anyhow. Gold today, by the way, setting, what is it, the 35th all-time high so far this year. It's just shy of $3,700. Silver's at 42. Silver's absolutely skyrocketed. Metal, and it concerns me because I have one friend of mine that I talked to who says if gold breaks $4,000 anytime in the near future, we're in real trouble because the devaluation of the dollar will be full sprint. Would you agree with that?
I'm not going to put a specific number on it because I think 3,700 is a high number. I don't see why 4,000 would be some sort of tipping point.
Well, no, what he thought was, he said if it hits 4,000, it's just going to go up from there and explode. That's what his concern is. He said if it breaks the $4,000 barrier, all bets are off. Maybe true, maybe not.
It's certainly possible, but I think with that, you would then have to see, I think there are enough people close to Trump who think the way that you and I do, who would then get to him and say, you've got to stop this. You've got to, you and Scott Bessent, because it's a Treasury policy thing, you've got to talk to the markets. You've got to go like Robert Rubin did under Bill Clinton and say a strong dollar is in the best interests of the American people. We don't like the direction. And words have always been able to move the dollar. There's this myth that they don't know. Words, precisely because the president can devalue the dollar, the president can put us back on the gold standard, president can take us off. Words from the president would move the dollar in the right direction. And I'm 100% with you. I think it's time for Trump to say something.
There you go. John Tamny, his latest book, Deficit Delusion, Why Everything, Left, Right, and Supply Side, tell you about national debt is wrong. John, always appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. We'll be back right after this.
2,500 jobs, powering a million homes. That's a lot of homes.
All right, welcome back to it.
Pioneered the field. This agreement.
Donald Trump was with Keir Starmer in the UK after leaving Windsor Castle earlier today on his formal farewell. They're sitting down talking right now. Let's just dip in if we can. If we can hear us dip in a little bit, just hear what they're talking about.
Maintain that fight. We're right now, and I want to say, leading China and the world by a lot in AI.
All right, we got an audio.
We're creating tremendous amounts of energy and letting you create your own electricity in many, many cases. And we're giving you very rapid approvals. We're getting them approvals like they've never seen before. They used to wait 15 and 20 years to be rejected. Now they wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks to be accepted. That's a pretty big difference. And at the same time, we always have the environment in mind, but moving along. But we're committed to ensuring that you have secure and reliable sources of American AI and quantum technology. We intend to be the UK's strongest, closest, and most trusted business partner. Very important to us. The relationship is very important. 1 year ago, our country was in serious trouble. The King of Saudi Arabia, great gentleman, you all know him. He said, "Sir, your country was dead 1 year ago, and now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world," and it's true. We'll have more than $17 trillion invested in our country this year, 17 trillion, which is many, many times what we had last year, and we're only in our just about almost 9th month, it's moving along quickly. It's amazing. I was saying we're in our 3rd month, our 4th month, our 5th month, but we're at, it's going to be over $17 trillion. No country has ever had anything like that, even close.
All right, so there's the president and Keir Starmer talking about energy, high tech, the future, and putting together a deal so that we can have more deals between the UK and the United States, a great trading partner and a longtime friend ever since we told him to go away. Right. You know who's a great friend of the program? Ivy. She is the program. For the Ivy Watch, God bless America. She's coming on early, guys. She's coming on early. Buckle up. She's on after the break. All right, it's a bonus for y'all. It's Ivy Watch. Yeah, it is. She's here early. Bonus time for Ivy. I mean, the people are all lined up. I mean, your fans are going wild, Ivy.
Well, good
Where's
morning,
the
everyone.
applause button, guys?
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah, Anthony has to play cleanup today, so he might be a little flustered, but he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I don't know how much you've talked. I've been popping in and out of the program this morning as I listen, but I'm also working a lot in the morning, so I tend to catch a lot of what you say, and some of it I miss. But anyhow, have you spoken much about this whole Kash Patel on, testifying yesterday in front of the House?
I have not.
Judiciary Committee?
He torched Eric Swalwell. It was spectacular.
That was
I
hilarious.
can't play the bite, though, because it hasn't been cleaned up yet.
Well, it's he's essentially says to Eric
whole
Swalwell,
career.
your whole career is a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
It
was great.
There was a bunch of very fiery I guess, and I wouldn't say altercations, but
Just
exchanges. Yes.
Yeah, they were screaming over each other.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
But Kash Patel.
But he has courage to go out there and say, no, what you're saying is absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
Let's focus. How about we focus on enforcing the law and finding criminals.
Yeah.
And not like investigating, I don't know, presidents and
it isn't it
and Catholics
and you and me.
And you and I, or 501(c)(3)s that are trying to do good work, that are conservative organizations.
But isn't it about time? Isn't it refreshing to see somebody not just sit there and take these stupid speeches, because they're not there to ask a question. I reclaim my time. Shut up. Nobody cares if you reclaim your time. Take your time. Anyhow, I love the fact that he's pushing back going, you're just trying to get clicks. You're trying to raise money. You're a joke, and your whole career is BS. I thought it was spectacular.
I did too. And Anthony, let me know when you have those ready. But I have one with Jim Jordan, and I have one with Jasmine Crockett. But
they're ready.
Okay, let's go with Jim Jordan.
Is that the first one?
Yes.
Yep. Director, yes or no? Is the FBI still spying on parents at school board meetings?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Catholics?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still spying on President Trump?
I don't believe so.
Is the FBI still censoring Americans?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans for shopping at Cabela's or purchasing Bibles?
Nobody is targeted for their faith.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans who are pro-life?
Nobody is targeting anyone for their beliefs.
Is the FBI still cooking the books on crime data?
The crime data is real.
Yeah, you can come
back.
Is
the
the
FBI still purging agents for consumer?
Wow,
so
that's just great.
Yeah, but this is the thing. I think we live in this 24-hour news cycle that something else happens all the time, and then we have these really short memories. Like the FBI was actually doing all those things. People,
all those things.
Let's remind you what the FBI was doing under James Comey.
Yeah, and what's one of our favorite stores? There it was. Cabela's. So if I shop at Cabela's, I'm an enemy of the state.
My gosh, I must have a lot of hits because I love that store.
No kidding.
My goodness.
Wow.
But I want you to get a little contrast here. And I don't know if you watch any of Jasmine Crockett, but literally she was like moving all around. It was like a complete show. But go ahead, Anthony.
I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining. Yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you were.
It's just a complete.
Well, hold on. Let me point something out here. J. Edgar Hoover never worked for the FBI because it was created and given to him when he was 29 years old. Unqualified? J. Edgar Hoover was wildly unqualified for the power that he was given, and everybody knows it that has any sense of history. But, of course, she doesn't. And even if she does, everything she does, Ivy, exactly as you said, is a shtick. Right. It's a shtick.
Yeah, well, she probably doesn't even know that he was a president. Hoover, that is.
Yeah.
I doubt that. I was looking at, I don't know if you saw this, but President Trump is changing, the requirements for the test for citizenship, and making sure that you can answer very specific questions. And if you go through the test and you fail at like 9 questions or something like that, then you're immediately say, okay, you're not ready for citizenship. You need to come back. And I'm betting that most people and many in Congress cannot answer these questions.
Yeah.
They cannot.
They've
Which
never
is
seen
frightening.
this. They've never
they,
seen the
well, they never read
Constitution.
it. They never picked up the Constitution. They never read the Constitution. They've never studied U.S. history. They've never studied world history. That may actually be impactful in the way that you legislate in America. And I just, I used to be very concerned. There was a time where we had actually talked about me running for, as a representative
for Congress.
And I'm like, I'm just not sure that I had what it takes. And then I look at somebody like Jasmine Crockett, and I think I could definitely do better than that.
Yeah, I could raise them, and she's just one example.
Right. Well, AOC and
there's the guy from Georgia who thought Guam was going to tip over if there were too many soldiers on it.
Like, what?
It's an island.
It doesn't float there, sir. It's actually connected to like the crust of the earth, like the rest of the. I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah.
I know what I remember pulling the bite for you, and I like laughed out loud. Like, you have got to play this on the air. Like, who actually? He said it out loud.
Yeah, he did. So are you announcing your candidacy here today?
No, I'm not announcing my candidacy.
I mean, the people in the chat will go wild. The Ivy Watch people will go wild.
Well,
who supports Ivy to run for Congress? I'm just going to ask.
Oh my gosh! Well, right now we have Tom Barrett. It was great in our district, so I don't really want to do that.
I understand that Tom Barrett. He's coming up next, actually. But we can move districts. I mean, if you want the job, Look, I'm full in on your campaign. Anthony, are you in?
Listen, if I'm going for something, just go
I'll
for
run
something.
security.
He'll run security. See, we're in on this deal.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Anyhow, what a week. It's starting to feel slightly normal again.
Yeah. And what a show the UK put on for the president yesterday. As I was watching, I was kind of glued to the TV watching, because, I mean, it was a beautiful ceremony.
It was remarkable.
And I think how incredible it would be to actually either just be a fly on the wall or have a place at the table in one of those settings. So pretty incredible.
It was.
To see.
The carriages, the flowers, the bands.
Mm-hmm.
And you point out to me, Piers Morgan said he'd never seen anything like it.
No.
Yeah.
Never rolled out the carpet as exquisitely as they did for the President Trump.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, they put on an amazing show for the president out of respect to the United States. You know who didn't put on a show yesterday? Jimmy Kimmel. That's right.
Can you imagine the amount of mail that network had to have received to be able to even, because I don't even think they would actually really care about the whole FCC threat. I think they got hundreds, thousands of complaints, and they had to do something about it.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah. All right, Steve. Well, thank you. Love you.
Love you too, Ivy.
I hear that out cue music. Time for me to go.
And now the man who has your job is coming in, Congressman Tom Barrett from Michigan, up next here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back. There you go, everybody. Back at it now as we continue the conversation. My next guest is my member of Congress. He's here from time to time. We've got to know each other quite well over the last many years because he worked in the State House and Senate, and then he went on and ran for Congress and won the seat that represents me, and I couldn't have a better man doing it. It's Tom Barrett, everybody. Welcome back to the program, Tom.
Steve, thank you for having me on. And anytime Ivy wants to switch jobs, just let me know.
Yeah, she likes you, though. She's not worried about that.
Well, I'm the one that wants to come home. Yeah,
but I appreciate that.
Tag me out. Yeah.
It's been a surreal week, and I got to ask you about this because we were talking about it in the break. Look, the left doesn't seem to understand. They lost the argument permanently on the 10th of September at about 12:23 local time in Orem, Utah. I believe that they lost the argument permanently because people that are not even involved with politics, don't pay much attention to programs like this or get on the internet and do much with politics, they saw that, and then they saw people like school teachers and nurses and doctors celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk, celebrating it. And they're like, oh my God, I want nothing to do with this. I think America changed on the 10th of September, and maybe a little bit for the better, because we're rejecting that violent attitude that comes from the left. This is not a both sides issue to me, Tom. I don't care how they try to paint it. It doesn't matter to me. We know what we know. The president was shot. They tried to kill him another time. We saw Steve Scalise get shot up with a bunch of other folks at a baseball game, and then they murdered Charlie Kirk in front of 3,000 people. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. There is no contextualizing the violence that we saw as it relates to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and it was heartbreaking. And this is the first national figure political assassination, I think, of my lifetime, and probably certainly the lifetime of so many of the young people that Charlie Kirk was so influential with, college age and younger, demographic that he was so influential with. I have a couple of nieces that are in high school. They're a junior or senior in high school age, and they were completely devastated by this. And there are so many countless others who were just as impacted by the effect that Charlie Kirk had. And to see that happen and to see it essentially live streamed in the way in which it took place was just so gruesome and so impactful for so many people. And, especially for younger people. I mean, you and I are old enough to remember 9/11. Most probably Americans are, but we have so many younger folks today that weren't even born or not old enough to remember 9/11. And this is a really pivotal moment in their lives. And I said this yesterday in some of my remarks that we are now, we are at a turning point in our country. And I think, and I hope that we are turning for the better, to your point and what you said. I hope that we turn to the right side of this and really condemn these horrific, violent acts where people are attacking others based on their opinions and speech, and the things that we say are so intrinsic to the values of our country. For somebody who is promoting, really faith and
doing what the left always says, we need to talk more. So he's out there talking to people, engaging people, and he gets executed for it. I mean, just
and they try and say that
down.
They try and say that words equal violence or all these other things. And it just is absolutely not true. And I still believe in the conscience of America, and in Americans as a whole have a moral conscience to see how shocking and horrible this was. And the backlash that you're seeing and the swiftness of it really demonstrates to me that we can still count on Americans to do the right thing and make the right decision, and to really preserve that moral conscience that we still have. And I'm thankful for that. Obviously, this is a horrible, horrific tragedy, but at least we can say that Americans stepped up at this time to show that we have a conscience that is still worth protecting in our country.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And the explosion of people joining Turning Point USA, of people saying, I've had enough of people going back to church. I mean, this is all happening.
That's probably the best outcome of this. I mean, politics is, a symptom of culture, right? But if we can have our culture move more in a direction like Charlie Kirk was espousing about faith and values and humanity and all of the other things, and his really front-facing Christian advocacy is bringing more people to church. I've even heard this in my own personal life, people contacting me saying, I hadn't been to church other than, a wedding and a funeral for a cousin or an uncle or a whomever
In years.
for more than 2 decades, and now
Yeah.
I'm going back to church again. So hopefully there
Good
will be a little
stuff.
bit of that revival of faith as well taking place.
The Charlie effect. All right, we've only got about a minute, a little bit more left. I want to make sure we get this. You were with the vice president in Howell, Michigan yesterday.
Yes.
Talking about middle class tax relief. Tell me about that real quick.
Yeah, it was great. This really shows the emphasis that this administration has on working families in places like Michigan. The president and vice president spent a lot of time in Michigan last year, never took us for granted. And the vice president's been back. And I think we've had more visits of cabinet officials in my district than anywhere else in the country because they believe in Michigan, they believe in our country, and they believe in the working people that drive our economy forward, and providing tax relief, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, and all of the other benefits, the child tax credit, and everything else that's in here that puts working people and working families back in the driver's seat, not the elites that have really run our country for so long.
Yeah, it's time, it's time to reinvest in the middle class. And that means, and thankfully, we're bringing a lot of jobs back. We're bringing a lot of manufacturing back. We're bringing all sorts of things back to America. Tom, I'll give you the last word.
No, thank you. We're not going to pander and give away things that the Biden administration did and these phony, green energy stuff. We're investing in working families who are productive people, who are going to work every day, building out our economy, raising their families, and providing a better livelihood for them. There's nothing better we can do.
Congressman Tom Barrett, my voice in Washington.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Tom, greatly appreciates you, my friend. There you have it. Michigan 7, for those of you who want to look up and find out more. He's a military veteran, a member of Congress, and just a good guy to be around. We've spent some time together. Got to know him a little bit. All right, so when we come back, I'll put a bow tie on this. We'll wrap things up right after this. All right, some new information now on the assassination of Charlie Kirk coming in. Lance Twiggs, that's a name we haven't spoken about nearly as much. Lance Twiggs is the lover of the suspect, Tyler Robinson. According to a relative of Lance Twiggs, he was kicked out of his parents' home before he was 18 because of drug and alcohol abuse and addiction to video games. It was considered very problematic. Kicked out of his parents' home over issues surrounding substance abuse, gender identity, alcohol use, drug use, and video game addiction. The relative revealed that her family member had always tried to put on the act that he had changed. He moved into a townhome, paid full rent. There were other college roommates at the time. No, he didn't change. And in fact, I think that this brings us closer to the idea that he knew what was going on. It brings us back to the contrived text messaging back and forth. He lived with his grandparents for a period of time, but gender issues, alcohol issues, drug issues, yeah. So there you have it. Lance Twiggs, who has, by the way, been moved to an undisclosed location far from St. George, Utah, we're told. I don't think that this is over. There are more than 24 people being investigated, people that were in those chat rooms. I mean, Lance Twiggs was asked to come pick up the rifle. And you know, we'll see how this plays out, but I don't think this is over by a long shot.
So this Lance person is in custody or like protective?
No. He's just out of the scene. He's not in custody. He's not been charged with a crime. But my guess is that, you know, he's not in the clear on this, is what I'm saying. So we'll stay up with it. Tomorrow Free for All Friday. Is it Friday already? Free for All Friday tomorrow. Don't miss that. You get to call in and weigh in. We'll talk about it. We can talk about Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson and Jimmy Kimmel. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is The Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you can save America.